What does one do when one is getting bored and also doesn't have ideas for videos? Seeing as how mostly my sim racing videos did the best, I decided to do something special today. So I reinstalled Assetto Corsa, and I discovered that Content Manager apparently cached everything that I have, including tracks and cars. However, I did find some new things, one of which is the car that you can see on the screen. One, and two, the track that we're gonna run on. This car is quite special. I don't even know if this ever made it to production. I've been sort of looking up things and doing a bit of research, and it doesn't really look like it did. Now, it's all up to speculation, but my bet is that this car was basically set to the side by the RS, Megane, and Clio RS, because as you people know, Dacia is under the umbrella of Renault as a company, and it kind of does make sense when the parent company decides to preserve its own sports part and doesn't really give it to the child company. But this thing is very interesting. So this car is an FF, and it makes 300 horsepower, and it comes with a turbocharged unit. I don't know how many cc's this engine has, but it has a turbo. It makes 300 horsepower. It is absolutely crazy without any traction control, by the way, for some reason. Yes, I know it's front-wheel drive. I don't know what to blame here, whether it's the AC physics, whether this car has just bad physics in general, but I have to say this car can lose traction so easily. You can just become a passenger so easily in this thing. It's crazy. The way the front wheels can just lock and you just lost all of your grip, and then the car just... yeah, it just goes forward, it doesn't turn. This begs the question, how fast can the Sandero RS 2024 ascend TRANSFAGARASAN? Let's see. So far we've only tried exotic cars, well, only one to be exact, the McLaren P1, and we did it downhill. I don't know what was in my head. Also, speaking of the new things that I was gonna mention, this track is new. Well, it is the same TRANSFAGARASAN, but it's not the chopped version that I played on initially with the McLaren P1. This is a new version that I got from AssettoWorld.com. So if you play Assetto Corsa and you're interested, I highly recommend you get this version because all of the shaders look just better. Lighting makes more sense. Shadows make more sense. Colors make more sense. They feel a lot more real. The map feels a lot more real. And now I'm also playing on 1440p at the 180 refresh rate that my monitor has, which is very nice for response and all that. So let's get cracking. I already drove this car a little bit before I started filming, so let's just see. Okay, so let's see how the traction goes, like now that I have the TC set up to the highest setting, because to be fair, I really hope that it fixes the issue that I just discussed. This is why I love... having a high refresh rate monitor when I sim race, because it really improves my ability to react to oncoming corners and all that. Also the fact that now the TC is on the highest setting and it's not off, because that's how I did my first ever run in this car. Big mistake. Now the car can actually pull when I slam the throttle, even though it's the computer is like intervening and telling the car, nope, you don't go full throttle now you go. Yeah, even though it's doing that and there is intervention of electronics, it feels like the car is actually drivable, because without any traction control this thing is just undrivable, I can already guarantee you. Also, do mind that I was also driving on the Pilot Sport Sports, not the racing tires, not the cups. The cups seem to be a lot grippier, and it kind of makes sense, I think, because these are already semi-slick grade tires, or even track tires, even though we're on a public road in the Balkans. And probably that's not the best idea, but hey, it's a Dacia. It's a Dacia on a Romanian road. Meaning, it's ideal. It's on the best setup. It's a good machine. Fucking hell. So I gotta kind of focus on the road, otherwise I'm gonna end up in the trees. Unironically. This thing is really fun to drive also. I picked the uphill in particular because I just thought that this car and the way it just goes uphill is more suited for, well, the way it just goes, it's more suited for the uphill because I feel like on the downhill I would press the brake a lot more often. That's kind of what was so frustrating about the drive in the McLaren P1, even though it wasn't really that bad. I have to say the McLaren P1 was a very good car on these Balkan A roads, where you have a pothole every single patch of asphalt. So, wow, it's just staying on the road. That's very nice. You know, it's not like every car must do that as a standard of, you know, safety. The car is carring, everyone. Anyway, this thing is really nice. I think it probably is like the Megane RS. Probably has the same engine as the Megane RS because from what I know, from the new, or not really new because the sports model sort of got scrapped from Renault's lineup. But the most recent sports cars from Renault, the Megane RS, it was the top of the line basically, and it made 300 horsepower, so it was the fastest sports car that Renault was selling recently. Then you had the Clio RS Trophy, making a whopping 200 horsepower and still coming with a DSG, or I don't know if it was a DSG transmission or if Renault made their own in-house double plate clutch semi-automatic, just like Volkswagen does, because DSG is actually a German system, or I don't know if it's German, correct me on that if you know more than I do. All I do know is that the DSG comes on basically pretty much every Volkswagen you can get that has a semi-automatic or a fully automatic with a sports mode included, to which if you introduce it in the sports mode you can then use paddle shifters. At least that's what I saw on my recent holiday where I rented a Passat from 2015, and that thing did come with a DSG transmission, which is kind of nice. It was really fun to press those paddles in a real car. I've never done that before, so I had the time of my life, honestly, even though the Passat can kind of feel like a dog sometimes, to be fair. Even though it wasn't a dog by any means, it was just that that car in particular that I got had like a delayed input for some reason. It just, I would press the throttle and then it will only go after like 2 or 3 seconds since pressing it, or since, you know, doing anything to it. Which, you know, is a bit frustrating. I mean, you want the car to be responsive and all. I like my cars to be responsive, and you know, that's particularly something that I find really, really good about my Clio full hybrid TC145. It's a very nice hybrid car for the entry-level price that also has like enough power to make it fun, while also the throttle is very, very responsive. It's almost instantaneous. Whereas in this Passat that I'm talking about, it was just frustrating how delayed the input was. And that's just something that I found, you know, particularly annoying. But, to be also mentioned, the DSG transmission was also included in models like the BMW M3 E92. And that's a fun fact, isn't it? And this is exactly why I'm saying it's a German thing. I don't know, I just don't see or hear about DSG in almost any other cars. Porsche on their 718 Spider, or probably every single model that uses their paddle shifters and semi-automatic, they call that a PDK transmission. And it's probably some German mumbo-jumbo that basically means dual clutch transmission or something. Basically like the DCT that you have on the GR Supra, if you think about it. So yeah, but enough about me talking about these sorts of transmissions. I'm just very interested in automotive, and especially, you know, how the cars that we drive have evolved in general, because they have, by a lot. I don't like it when people sort of throw everything that's new under the bus for reasons that are valid, you know? But they take this and they conflate it. They make it sound like the whole automotive industry has degenerated. But it hasn't. It has actually really progressed. With things like hybrid systems, you have marvels of engineering like the Porsche 918 Spider, which that thing is just amazing by every meaning of the word. It is just fast. It is very fast, making over 1,000 horsepower, all with the help of such a hybrid powertrain. It is insanity. It's one of the things that I enjoy about the automotive industry in general, when it does pinnacles of engineering like these. That's just something that I really enjoy about cars in general. But when I just see, like, you know, unnecessary internet car wars, it kind of, you know, it's a bit demeaning, to be fair, as someone who just enjoys automotive engineering in general. Because I don't just have one preference of cars. I may have had that a while ago, but it was before I sort of matured and realized all of these things can be fun at the end of the day, unless you're driving like something that really doesn't have a lot of power, like under 90 horsepower, and then the car is like 1,000 kilos. Like, that's very, very dumb, in my opinion. Like, that's annoying, you know, that's very dissatisfying to drive. But as long as you have something that has a decent power to weight ratio, like for example, in my daily driver right now, I have like 1,200 kilos of weight combined with a 145 horsepower power unit. I'm not complaining, honestly. That thing is still just kicking it when I press the accelerator. It's so fun. I can't even describe it properly. And also this Sandero is just, look how smooth it can be if handled properly. You also have to remember, in order to drive cars in a fast way, you have to do it smoothly. Now, yeah, I know, that's a bit hypocritical coming from a dude who just managed to barely avoid crashing in 4 or 5 attempts already. But to be fair, all of this advice comes from a place of love and letting you guys know what you should do in order to best control a vehicle, especially if you're trying to do spirited driving, as many of us enthusiasts want to most of the time, especially when the road is empty. Well, not that I condone any of that, honestly, because it can become unsafe very quickly. I think you should just be responsible. But you can still enjoy cars. And in order to stay safe, a big component of it is if you're trying to drive spiritedly or quicker than usual, you should just keep in mind that smoothness is key. The smoother you are, especially with newer cars, with modern machinery, the more rewarded you will be while driving these things. Because trust me, it is really a lot of fun. And even with this modest piece of machinery, this Sandero with probably a Megane RS engine in it, it is still a lot of fun. Somehow this car really nails this recipe. It still manages to be this hot hatch that is so much fun to take around this track. I cannot even believe this. This is so much fun. I have to mention, in a few attempts, because I just rediscovered this passion I have for sim racing, or just, you know, improving my technique, be it through sim racing or taking what I know from sim racing into real life driving. I also was driving the Gallardo SL or whatever, LP, yeah, basically the Superleggera, I think, version of the Gallardo. And I was also driving it on this road. And it was not as fun to drive as this, because I was pressing the brake a lot more often. Whereas with this thing, it's like such a game of, you know, balance, right? Like, you have to know when to accelerate, when you can just kind of coast it a little bit. You know, you have to know what gear you should be in through every turn in order to maximize the car's speed or potential speed. It is crazy how much fun things like these can be, and because of technology and the way it's become in late years, things like how, you know, this Fanatec CSL-DD with its pedals and everything else, the way that we have access to these things, like, what a time to be alive. We get to just install a game like Assetto Corsa, even though I know Assetto Corsa Evo's out, and I will try that. It's just nice to know that you can always just jump in and experience any sort of car you want. Of course, nothing beats the real deal, but anyhow, like, to be able to, like, have these sorts of experiences is just unimaginable if you think about it. If you would go back in time and you would explain to your younger self what this is, your younger self would just think that you're pulling his leg or her leg. They wouldn't understand this. But the fact that we are here and this is where we're at with technology is just, it's insane what we can do. Be it with games or with sim racing or with cars in general, because this is it, the absolute peak. And here we are, almost done with the entire thing. So for such a bumpy road, this thing is handling it so well. I can't believe it. The most interesting will always remain the McLaren P1, because you wouldn't expect an exotic car like that to handle bumpy Balkan roads that well. But this Sandero RS, oh my, it did it. It really did it. We're almost done. We're coming up on the last corner thereabouts, and then here we are. So I managed to do it in 14 minutes. Probably this thing can go way faster than I have. But in any case, this is very, very interesting to know that we get to do things like these. We cannot really do donuts because we have our traction control enabled. Whew! 14 minutes. Wow, that was insane. What? You thought the fun was over? Hell no. So we have ridden this car on Romanian roads. But does it really earn its mettle as a compact sports car, or anything close to something that you would consider buying if you were in the market for an enthusiast car? Well, let's find out, shall we? So right now we're on the Nürburgring on the GP layout, and I have among my opponents the following. I have an Alfa Romeo Giulietta QV, a Mazda MX-5 ND, Hyundai i20, and a Toyota GR86. So all of these cars are relatively modern, and cars that I would guess would be the immediate substitutes if you were in the market for these types of cars. And pretending that this Sandero RS did actually make it into production. Yeah. Made our settings, we're ready for a race. Okay, so here we go. We're about to start the race between contender entry-level sports cars. So okay, now we're talking. So this Hyundai i20 is really giving it the beans and also giving us a run for our money. It's really a fast car. I always thought that the Hyundai i20N is a very nice hot hatch. In fact, I feel like quite underrated, in fact. What's also a bit of a shame is that somehow the rest of our opponent's grid is just lagging behind. but we got ourselves a challenge here. Let's try and finish on pole position with this Sandero RS, see if we can get it there, in fact. I can hear the car behind me is right on my tail. I can just hear the noise coming from its exhaust. Well, from its engine, rather. Considering where we are. Just trying to stay ahead while also giving chase to this i20N because it's really pulling away from us. This car is very well made, this i20N. It's a very good hot hatch, in fact. I think it's probably the best, most recent hot hatch you can get. To me, it even makes the Type R look bad, because honestly, the new Civic Type R is just not as good as it used to be. At least in my opinion. And now the i20N is just simply gapping us, which is not very, very good. But at least we'd still get second position. Let's try and close in on him from braking. This AI is just crazy, honestly, what it manages to do with the cars that are available in this game, or whatever cars I install as mods, because this i20N is not included by default in Assetto Corsa. I am the one who is responsible for this car existing in my game. Okay, sorry about that. That was not fair for me to do. Oh my days. This thing is just going. Come on! We have the slipstream, come on! We'll get him, come on, let's go. Oh, for god damn it. Also have to remember that I shouldn't force the car's controls in an attempt to just fiercely chase my opponent. Okay, there we go, we passed. Now all we have to do is just... Oh my days! Woo! This is close racing, this is exactly what I like. Oh my god, we got past, we got pole position right now. All we have to do is just maintain it, and we are home free. Problem is we cannot relax too much because this i20N is really pushing it. In fact, one too many mistakes and then it gets its position right back on pole. And there we go, that was one of them. Strike one. I don't know how many more we can afford realistically before it just finds us again and just takes away pole position from us. But wow, that was so cool. This is exactly what I like about sim racing. It's this sort of close racing that forces you to basically get better in a short period of time and then just act, you know, in order to get the goal that you desire. And as you guys could see, the guy was right behind us, or is right behind us. Okay, we're managing to stay ahead quite well. But I can hear the i20 and it's right behind us. I'm getting kind of quiet because I'm trying to focus. In order not to lose my position to the I-20N. For anyone who has played Assetto Corsa, you will understand how fierce the AI can be in this game. It's crazy. You can hear that traction control intervening, keeping the car from just sort of understeering into the shadow realm. Due to the pedal to the metal style of control that I have. Okay. The fast section, and then we're gonna go to the final chicane and then to the back straight. Once you get used to driving this thing, it becomes sort of easy. But you know, never say never. Yep, what did I say? What did I say? Our opponent is right behind us. I don't know if I'm going crazy or if I can just hear the I-20N screaming away behind, trying to just grasp my position and never let go of it. And here we go. We almost managed to make it through this race, even though it was quite complicated. Wow, this thing is so cool. I'm talking as if the race is done, but we have like 2 more laps in which I should try my best not to bin the whole race. Also, my contrast from my camera is diminishing because night light, well, it's getting dark outside basically, and I haven't put on any lights in my room, so it's sort of getting hard to see me in the face cam, but nevertheless, rest assured I'm just having my helmet experience at the moment and trying my best not to get devoured by the Korean beast behind me. Oh no, that, yep. And he got it right back. He got it right back. That's crazy. Well, if you make mistakes, that's what happens. It's a very important lesson to learn from this video, among many others. We'll try getting it back somehow. Okay, okay, come on, come on. Come on, man, come on. This is exactly what I love about racing in general. It's just the closeness of it all. Oh my days. I just provided y'all with some quality content, so you'd better just slam that like button with its face against the floor or something. I'm fighting here for my life. Romania versus... well, no, I'm not gonna say that. Romanian machine versus Korean machine. Well, not really Romanian. What's under the hood is French. Oh my days, he's right behind me. He's right behind. I like how I'm just thinking out loud at this point. This is not how a real driver behaves. Okay, trail braking nicely into the corner and then exiting at a good enough speed in order to increase the gap behind us, or try. And nice entry into this one. Coming up on the Schumacher S over here, we need to be careful. Third gear is usually the one that will go the best in here. Hold the inner loop and then just take the racing line on the way out. That's how you work your way around the chicane. Okay, bit of engine damage there because I was just trying to use the engine braking in order to stop faster in there and do later braking than usual in order to max out our pace and get ahead, but I don't think we did that. I think we in fact reduced the gap between us and P2. We have one more lap ahead of us. So all we have to do is just fight as hard as we can in order to stay ahead. Okay, so we managed to stay in front for now, but we now have to complete this final lap in order to be home free and win this race of compact sports cars, or entry-level sports cars if you will. Although it's not really that fair that I included the Miata ND, or MX-5 rather, because we're in Europe over here, we don't say Miata. Maybe it wasn't so fair because maybe the power to weight ratio on that is not that good. Especially the power is just a bit lackluster in that one, but nevertheless, I had a lot of fun trying to escape the chase of this i20N and whatever else is behind me. I'm definitely having a look at the replay, seeing the overall pace of the other cars in comparison to mine, because it's very interesting to see. I think it is always interesting to see how close my opponents were to me while I was doing my race pace. It's been a while since I've sim raced, and it's also very interesting for me to see how I've evolved. I do notice that sometimes I sort of make progress just without touching something for a while, and then whenever I just come back to it, I'm just way better all of a sudden. I don't know how to explain it. It's a very strange phenomenon. I cannot really put my finger on how it works, or I don't even know why it works the way that it does. Over there it feels like I'm kind of leaving a little bit of speed on the table in that one corner. So we're almost home free. We just have to survive the final chicane and then the back straight. Yep. Oh my god. Oh my god. He was attacking. He was attacking. And we're almost there. And we are done. We finally managed it. Oh my god. Whew. That was really something. That was really something. I don't even know what the others are. We sort of just gapped the rest of the grid and that's it. The rest is history. This was a lot of fun. I really missed sim racing in general. It's always fun to sort of like be able to jump into a setup like this and experience things that normally you probably can't in real life because of things like mainly financials. You know, you can't just sort of go out and buy whatever car you want to drive whenever you feel like driving it. Unfortunately, that's just not how life works for most of us. So it's really nice to be able to do things like these. So look how close our gap was to the i20, and that's crazy. The GR86 though is a bit disappointing if I'm being fully honest. I mean, I didn't expect it to be that slow. The Giulietta maybe it made a bit of sense for it to be that slow, but and then the Mazda MX-5, I'm not even questioning it too much. I mean, the ND is just not really made with a lot of horsepower to boot. I hope everyone enjoyed watching this amazing video. I always enjoy making content, although lately it's been a bit more difficult to do so. But I do try and make it whenever I do get the opportunity to, because this is something that's kind of fun for me to do from time to time. I get to sort of practice my editing skills and my presentational skills. So in any case, hope everyone's doing great, and hope that everyone's having a great summer. And until next time, take care.